This is Chofu Station on the Keio Line. Keio Corporation is one of the major private railways in the Tokyo suburbs, extending its lines westward from Shinjuku and Shibuya. Chofu is the station where the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line diverge. Located roughly in the center of the route map, it is a junction for the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line, both of which have high ridership, and it holds an important position in terms of operations and passenger volume. In fiscal year 2024, the average daily ridership was about 118,500 people. Among Keio Corporation stations, it ranks fourth, and it is the busiest station among those that do not offer transfers to other companies' lines. All non-surcharge trains stop at Chofu Station. Only reserved seat trains with an additional fee pass through this station. Even during the daytime, there are 21 trains per hour in each direction. In the past, some Sagamihara Line trains started or ended at this station, but now such trains are rare, and they basically run directly through to the Keio Line during the day. The platforms for the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line are generally fixed, and connections between trains on both lines occur frequently. Many passengers transfer between trains because switching to a faster service allows for a quicker arrival toward the Shinjuku area. I am currently on the inbound platform toward Shinjuku. The platforms at this station have a two-level structure, with the inbound platform on the third basement floor and the outbound platform on the second basement floor. Since the two platforms are stacked vertically, the positions of stairs and escalators are slightly offset. Ticket gates and other facilities are located on the first basement floor, meaning the main station facilities are housed underground. Chofu Station, along with the nearby Fuda and Kokuryo stations in the inbound direction, was moved underground in August 2012. Before the undergrounding, Chofu Station had 2 platforms and 4 tracks just as it does now, but the difference was that they were arranged side by side. In addition to the elimination of railway crossings through undergrounding, there were significant benefits resulting from the change in the station structure. I'll look at the history of the station leading up to the completion of the undergrounding. Chofu Station opened in 1913. It is one of the oldest stations in the current Keio system. Later, in June 1916, the line opened as far as the former Tamagawara station. The section to the west of Chofu Station opened in September 1916. It is surprising that the current Sagamihara Line opened before the main line was extended. Tamagawara Station was opened for the purpose of transporting gravel from the nearby Tama River. Gravel was an important construction material, and there were other lines along the Tama River aimed at gravel transport. Although gravel mining in the Tama River was eventually banned, this line was extended as an access route for Tama New Town, which began development in the late 1960s, and extensions proceeded sequentially from 1971. The name Sagamihara Line was also given in 1971. Prior to that, Keio Tamagawa Station was elevated in 1968, and the short branch line rose to become a major route for Keio. There was one other access route to Tama New Town, the Odakyu-Tama Line. However, since Odakyu faced severe congestion on its main Odawara line, there were few direct trains from the Tama line to the Odawara line, making the Sagamihara line more convenient. Keio had the advantage in Newtown transportation. This situation worsened the conditions at Chofu Station, the junction of the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line. Before the undergrounding, the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line had an at-grade junction at Chofu Station. This was because the junction for both lines was too close to the station to build a grade-separated crossing. After the opening, facilities were moved toward the inbound side to soften the curve of the Sagamihara Line and expand the facilities, but the at-grade junction remained. The paths of the Keio Line outbound trains and the Sagamihara Line inbound trains crossed, creating constraints on the timetable. Furthermore, in addition to the high frequency of trains, the fact that Sagamihara Line trains ran at low speeds due to sharp curves meant that the closing times of nearby railway crossings became excessively long. In this regard, Odakyu rerouted the Odawara Line tracks in conjunction with the opening of the Tama Line and established Shin Yurigoga Station in an area that was then forest. The junction there is grade separated, and the station itself is a grand facility with 3 platforms and 6 tracks. The fact that the area surrounding Chofu Station was already urbanized was a factor that prevented such large-scale improvements. This is the state of Chofu Station about 14 years ago, just before it was moved underground. While the station's role increased, the expansion of facilities was not feasible, resulting in narrow platforms despite its status as a hub station. Transferring between the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line was only possible at Chofu Station, and since there were passengers transferring between different service types in addition to those switching lines, it was difficult to clear people from the platforms, which often remained crowded. The fact that some Sagamihara Line trains turned around at Chofu Station at that time was another factor that exacerbated the situation. Since Chofu Station did not have a reversing track, a Sagamihara Line train arriving at Chofu Station would be moved as a deadhead on the inbound track, turn around on the inbound side of the station, move to the outbound track, and then pull into the outbound platform. During that time, other inbound trains could not depart from Chofu Station. On the outbound side, Keio Line outbound trains and Sagamihara Line outbound trains would sometimes enter the station simultaneously, and due to land constraints, the tracks were so narrow that they could be seen entering at extremely close range. The ground-level Chofu Station was not only an operational bottleneck for the Keio Line, but its tracks also divided Chofu City into north and south, hindering traffic flow and social and economic activities. The railway crossings along the line, including the Chofu No. 1 crossing on the west side of the station, had long closing times, and during the morning rush, following trains would wait to enter the station on the crossing, creating a constant gridlock crossing state and causing chronic traffic congestion. In Chofu City, a plan for elevation was initially made, but environmental preparations were insufficient at the time, and the plan was abandoned in 1975. Later, after consultations with the Tokyo Metropolitan Government and Keio Corporation, the project owner, the national government adopted the Keio Line Chofu Station Area Continuous Grade Separation Project in 1998. For the purpose of eliminating the at-grade junction between the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line and easing congestion caused by railway crossings, track relocation and station building reconstruction were carried out, starting in September 2004 and completing the undergrounding in August 2012. As a result, 18 railway crossings, including the biggest bottleneck, the Chofu No. 1 crossing, have been eliminated. Furthermore, with the elimination of the crossing between Chofu Station and Keio Tamagawa Station, all railway crossings have disappeared from the Sagamihara Line. The entire project, including surrounding infrastructure development, was completed in fiscal year 2014. The reason Chofu Station became a 2-level structure with the undergrounding was to eliminate the at-grade junction of the 2 lines. Since the junction was too close to the station, the only way to create a grade-separated crossing was to make the station itself 2 levels. While there were parts where the usable platform numbers were restricted depending on the line during the ground-level era, such restrictions were eliminated by the undergrounding, allowing Keio Line and Sagamihara Line trains to use both tracks. Since land around Chofu Station is limited, the underground tracks were constructed in the limited space directly beneath the original ground-level tracks. I'll now examine the underground station, which is full of unique features. I'll also take a good look at Fuda Station and Kokuryo Station, which were moved underground at the same time. The degree of freedom in creating timetables has increased because the at-grade junction on the outbound side was eliminated with the undergrounding. In addition, delays no longer spread due to the at-grade junction. After the undergrounding, Keio Line and Sagamihara Line trains can use both tracks, so there is a point called a double crossover next to the station. However, using this would cause the paths to cross, so it is normal to avoid path conflicts by keeping the Keio Line to the right and the Sagamihara Line to the left. The distance between vehicles upon entering the station is wider than in the ground level era, making the impact somewhat less intense. Furthermore, the radius of the Sagamihara Line curve was softened in conjunction with the undergrounding, achieving a slight increase in speed. Because the platform width was widened compared to the ground level station while staying within the existing land, the tracks are gently curved overall. Along with Fuda and Kokuryo stations, platform edge doors were installed for the first time on the Keio system in conjunction with the undergrounding. Since platform edge doors alone are insufficient, there are monitoring screens where the conductor stands. There are 5 screens in total, which shows the importance of this station. Additionally, the platform edge doors and vehicle doors are not completely synchronized, and there seem to be parts where the conductor must perform manual operations. The 8000 series is frequently used for the boarding position marking illustrations. The 8000 series is a vehicle that debuted in 1992 and was the first full model change vehicle on the Keio Line in 20 years. It remains a highly popular vehicle even now that newer models have appeared. Mixed in with the 8000 series, the previous generation 7000 series can also be seen a little. In addition, maintenance vehicles used for track work are also occasionally featured in the illustrations. These vehicles are the Dea 901 and 902 series. These are maintenance vehicles manufactured in 2015. They were introduced to replace the previous generation as vehicles to tow units for inspecting tracks and overhead wires. Based on the 9000 series that debuted earlier, they look similar and use equipment with a proven track record from the 9000 series. The operation hours of maintenance vehicles are limited, and it is rare for general passengers to know of their existence. Because the inbound platform is particularly crowded during the morning rush, boarding position markers for the first and second following trains are lined up densely. Since the Keio Line mainly uses the platform on the left side, the markers there are longer. While the middle of the platform is reserved as a walkway, it seems it would become quite crowded during rush hour. I'll move toward the front. After advancing about 1 car length, finishing panels are added to the sidewalls. Thick beams are also added above, and the tunnel structure changes. On the opposite side, there are ducts likely for ventilation, and since the width of the tunnel itself changes, there is a step in the sidewall. Additionally, the 0-kilometer post indicating the starting point of the Sagamihara Line is located nearby. It is located further toward the outbound side than the center of the station, perhaps because the facilities were moved toward the inbound side during the station's expansion process. The first thing I see is the escalator leading to the platform above. The escalator directly connecting this platform and the concourse level is further ahead. Pillars, stairs, and escalators are positioned as much as possible to the right side, which is the track mainly used by the Sagamihara Line in an effort to avoid obstructing passengers waiting for Keio Line trains. An elevator is located toward the inbound side of the platform. There is another escalator behind it. The routes leading to the upper levels end here. From here, the platform becomes significantly narrower. Because the inbound and outbound tracks will be arranged side by side ahead, the inbound platform and track are shifted to the left. Trains passing through Chofu Station are either 10-car or 8-car formations. Due to this structure, 8-car formations stop toward the rear of the platform. Because the entire platform is winding, steps and gaps between the car body and the platform are noticeable. Although measures against steps and gaps have been taken, only 6 locations toward the inbound side fall within the target values. It is unfortunate since the majority of the old platform was straight, but it was unavoidable to widen the platform within the limited land. The signage at Chofu Station features a design mimicking movie film. This is because there are many movie and video-related companies in Chofu City. The trigger for this was when a film company opened a studio in front of the current Keio Tamagawa Station in 1933. The reasons were an environment suitable for filming both period dramas and modern dramas, and the presence of high-quality groundwater essential for film processing. During the golden age of Japanese cinema after the war, movies were produced by 3 productions, and Chofu was likened to the Hollywood of the East. In conjunction with the opening of a commercial complex at the site of the station building in 2017, the signage was replaced with designs mimicking movie film. All head to the platform above. The 2 platforms have different main colors, pink for the lower platform and blue for the upper platform. These colors are applied to the platform edge doors, sidewall finishes, and platform number displays. Pink-colored materials are also lined up above the stairs and escalators to prevent a bleak appearance and to clearly indicate whether the platform ahead is inbound or outbound. The basic design of the upper platform is the same, so the difference between pink and blue is important. It is easy to understand because only the areas leading to the lower platform are pink. While the inbound platform features the skyscrapers of central Shinjuku, the outbound platform features the Tengu of Mount Takao. This is the elevator I bypassed earlier. The area around the doors is also painted pink or blue. The space above the doors lights up, making it visually clear where the elevator is located. I'll return to the lower platform and ride the escalator I bypassed earlier, which directly connects the platform level and the concourse level. Since it does not involve the upper platform, only pink materials continue above. This escalator is the longest in Chofu Station, taking about 1 minute from the platform level to the concourse level. During this time, the upper platform is not visible. At the top of the escalator, there is also an elevator that penetrates all 3 levels. There are 2 ticket gates. The one visible now on the west side is the central exit, and the one on the opposite east side is the east exit. Restrooms and other facilities are located near the east exit. The east exit has only 4 ticket gates and 2 ticket machines. There are no station staff at the window, and assistance is provided via intercom. Here is the central exit. Since a bus rotary and other facilities are ahead, this side is more bustling. There are 10 ticket gates and 7 ticket machines, more than at the east exit, and there is also a staff booth. Transfer tickets cover stations on the Toei Shinjuku line, all lines of the Mita line, and some sections of the Oedo line. Among the Toei subways, transfer tickets to Asakasa line stations do not seem to be sold. Contactless credit card payments are available at all Keio Line stations. While this has spread in Japan, challenges remain, such as the limited number of compatible ticket gates and the lack of support for travel across different companies' lines, so further improvement in convenience is desired. I am on the first basement floor, and I need to go up 1 more level to reach the ground. The former track sites have become plazas and other spaces. Commercial facilities opened directly above the station building, and the utilization of the former site has progressed steadily. The bus rotaries on the north and south sides remain as they were. They are not connected because of the need to secure pedestrian flow. Buses play a major role in north-south transportation, with routes going to Kichijoji, Mitaka, and Musashi Kogane stations on the Chuo line, Komai and Seijo Gakuenmai stations on the Odakyu line, and Tsutsuji-ga-oka station on the Keio line. Additionally, airport access buses and Chofu City community buses also arrive and depart here. Although the tracks disappeared due to the undergrounding, objects resembling ventilation towers appear on the ground, and the sounds of passing trains can be heard clearly. Further toward the outbound side, a commercial facility with a major electronics retailer as the main tenant has been built. Next to this building, road construction was being carried out in conjunction with the development of the station square. Since it has been nearly 14 years since the undergrounding, this might be a new project. Located on the outbound side of this building was the Chofu No. 1 crossing, famous for being a constant gridlock crossing. The road that used to wind before and after the crossing has been renovated to be straight and has become an ordinary road. A commercial facility has also been built where the Keio Line and the Sagamihara Line diverge, and rails are embedded in this ground. It seems they reused the rails that were previously in use, and the distance between the rails has not changed. Part of the former track site has become a plaza called Tetsumichi, which can be used from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Tetsumichi is a portmanteau of the Japanese words for railway and road. There are play structures that children would enjoy and spaces where people could relax with tea. It is currently a holiday morning, so there are few people, but it seems it would be bustling during the day. Moving further toward the outbound side, there is a park near where the underground section ends. There are observation benches at the edge where passing trains can be viewed, but it is unfortunate that the view is not as good as expected because the fence is slightly far away and there are pillars supporting the overhead wires. The former track site, some distance from the station, has become a greenway. All move toward the inbound side, crossing Chofu Station. Located 0.6 kilometers, 0.4 miles, away from Chofu Station is Fuda Station. Only local trains stop here. In fiscal year 2024, the average daily ridership was about 13,000 people. It ranks 53rd among the 69 stations on the Keio system. Since only local trains stop here, and it is close to Chofu Station, the ridership remains at about 10% of Chofu Station's volume. On the Keio Line, at stations with high ridership such as Meidaimai and Chitose Karasuyama, it is not possible to transfer between local and faster trains on the same platform. Rather than meeting for connections, the focus tends to be on letting faster trains pass, and therefore the convenience of stations where only local trains stop is worse than expected, which seems to be one reason why passengers flow to Chofu Station. Fuda Station, unlike Chofu Station, has its station building on the ground. Originally, it had a structure where the platforms were on both sides of the tracks, but the structure changed with the undergrounding, and it now has a structure where the tracks flank the platform. In the same way as Chofu Station, the colors are separated for the inbound and outbound tracks for clarity. Because it is only 0.6 kilometers, 0.4 miles from Chofu Station, the platform is in a deep location and the escalator is quite long. The escalator is located only toward the outbound side, and there are only stairs toward the inbound side. Perhaps they are intentionally making the outbound side more convenient to avoid congestion, since cars toward the inbound side of the Keio Line become crowded. The platform, unlike Chofu Station, has a bright color tone. And the feature of Fuda Station is the full-height platform screen doors that extend to the ceiling. Combined with the bleak interior without guidance boards or advertisements, it has an appearance like something out of science fiction. In 2012, when Fuda Station was moved underground, waist-high platform edge doors were the mainstream. In fact, waist-high ones were introduced at Chofu and Kokuryo stations. The reason why only Fuda Station became a full-screen type is related to the structure of the tunnels around this station. In the undergrounded section, the underground tracks are basically directly beneath the original tracks. While the connection parts with the ground sections and both Chofu and Kokuryo stations were constructed using the cut and cover method. The tunnels between stations and part of Fuda Station were constructed using the shield tunneling method. The shield tunneling method is a construction method in which a cylindrical machine with a cutter at the tip digs through the ground and concrete blocks are applied from the inside to form a tunnel. The resulting tunnel is called a shield tunnel and is characterized by a circular cross-section identical to the shield machine. While the entire Kokuryo and Chofu stations use the cut and cover method, at Fuda Station only the tracks use the shield tunneling method, while the rest uses the cut and cover method. Since the shield tunneling method does not affect the ground surface, it is suitable for construction under the original tracks. Additionally, because the positional relationship of the tracks changes around Chofu Station, the difficulty of using the cut-and-cover method was another factor for choosing the shield tunneling method. By the way, the section from the outbound side of Kokuryo Station to the inbound side of Chofu Station was handled by multiple general contractors, including the famous Obayashi Corporation. The shield tunnels in the underground section are for single tracks, which means the wind created when a train passes blows fiercely, and this is prominent at Fuda Station, where both sides of the station are single-track shield tunnels. For that reason, full-height platform screen doors are installed at Fuda Station to suppress wind pressure. Normally, full-height platform screen doors have ventilation holes to let wind through, but there are no such things here. Consequently, the draft from the housing resonates quite a bit. Additionally, in the structure of Fuda Station, both ends of the platform are the boundaries between the shield tunneling and cut-and-cover methods. The shield tunneling method supports the load with the entire circular cross-section, so pillars are normally unnecessary, but it is a different story at the boundary of construction methods. At Fuda Station, pillars are placed in alignment with the platform doors, making the pillars that support the tunnel also serve as the members that support the platform doors. Located 0.7 kilometers, 0.4 miles, away from Fuda Station is Kokuryo Station. In fiscal year 2024, the average daily ridership was just under 33,000 people. It ranks 28th among the 69 stations on the Keio system, which is quite high for a station where only local trains stop. A large apartment building has also been built next to the station, giving it a different feel from Fuda Station. The ground-level Kokuryo Station had platforms on both sides of the tracks, just like Fuda Station, but the structure changed with the undergrounding to one where the tracks flank the platform. The floor of the platform has gray tiles similar to Chofu Station, giving it a calm feel. There are also thick pillars in the center of the platform, creating a different impression from Fuda Station. The inbound side is the connection part to the ground, and perhaps because the airflow is relatively good, the platform edge doors are waist-high. However, the outbound side consists of single-track shield tunnels, and a strong wind blows fiercely when passing trains run at high speeds. Additionally, the tracks in the underground section are basically ladder tracks, which tend to be noisy. Ladder track is a track in which sleepers are laid in positions along the rails, and the left and right sides are connected by pipes. The name comes from the fact that the pipes look like a ladder. Since the load is distributed, track distortion is less likely to occur, and the advantage is that maintenance can be reduced. On the other hand, because noise tends to increase, gravel is sometimes laid around the tracks. Gravel is not laid in this underground section, and because sound echoes in the tunnels, the noise when trains pass is loud. As I mentioned at the beginning, before the undergrounding, there were quite a few trains that started or ended at Chofu Station, and they turned around on the main line on the inbound side. Because Chofu Station became a two-level structure after the undergrounding, there are no tracks connecting the inbound and outbound lines near the station, and turning around for inbound terminating trains is now performed at Tsutsujigaoka Station, 4 stations away. Trains that start or end at Chofu Station are moved as deadheads between Chofu and Tsutsujigaoka. However, the vast majority of trains are operated across Chofu Station, and trains that start or end at Chofu Station are few and far between. And the structure of Chofu Station has caused unexpected harmful effects. For example, if a transport disruption occurred before the undergrounding, it was possible to perform turnaround operations at Chofu Station. Since this is no longer possible after the undergrounding, service suspensions may cover a wide area. It would have been good if there were facilities to turn around at Chofu Station after the undergrounding, but the priority was given to eliminating the at-grade junction, resulting in a two-level station and the inability to build tracks connecting the inbound and outbound lines. For those reasons, the timetable has shifted so that most Sagamihara Line trains run directly through to the Keio Line, and train congestion is also increasing.